The Napoleonic Wars. In the Napoleonic Wars, we have a lot of countries participated, and I really tried to freshen up my knowledge on this period of history. I hope I did a good job. It's kind of hard to tell since so much went on, and I'll just have to say I'm not the very best at this history part, so please forgive me if I make mistakes. We start off with Sweden. Now Sweden kind of tried. They fought the Danes, fought the French. In the beginning weren't so good. At the end they kind of did well against the Danes, took Norway. So I guess they'll deserve a C tier. Next we have the HRE. Now the HRE, they just suffered defeat after defeat after defeat, and I'm just gonna give them a D tier for that. They sometimes did well, but mostly they just got screwed up. Let's be honest. Then we have the Danes. The Danes really just got screwed up. They were forced into a war. The British just destroyed their navy, sacked their capital, Copenhagen. They still got defeated and lost Norway. F. Sardinia, Piedmont. They just lost Piedmont at the beginning of the war to France, and they kind of kept alive on Sardinia. So I guess they deserve a D for that, but nothing more. Now Portugal finally have got one of the more useful allies. They were a foothold for the anti-French alliance in Europe, mainland Europe. They did rather well defending their own land. I mean, especially thanks to the Brits, but they held on. Portugal tried their hardest, especially, well, because Spain had also rebelled against the Frenchies because Napoleon took Madrid. But I think they deserve a solid B. They were useful to their team. Russia is a kind of a split one because a lot of the beginning of the war they suffered some defeats, but for what they had to fight, they had to still fight the Ottomans after the Ottomans declared war on them in 1806, I think. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But then they had one of the most important victories of them all. They lost Moscow, they burned their land. I think Russia deserves an A. Next on the list we have the Austrians, born from the ashes of the HRE. They also suffered a lot of defeats, but in the end they were kind of better than the HRE, so I guess a C for them. Prussia in the 7-Year War was a beast. Prussia was such a strong country. But in the Napoleonic Wars they just lost. They just got beaten up, had to make concessions and had a really bad time. Sorry, Prussian weeaboos, but the Napoleonic Wars weren't really your time. Italy on the other hand was just a bit of a puppet state to the French. Kind of useful, nothing too amazing. C tier for me. The Ottoman Empire tried something. They attacked the Russians and they kind of defended against the French when they failed to invade Egypt. So I guess, especially since they lost that, they had to concede a lot of land to the Russians. I give them a D, possibly a C. The Netherlands kind of were screwed over. They had like tons of revolts, revolutions, conquers, etc. I can't give them more than a D. Weren't that special. The USA smelt the weakness of the Brits since they were fighting the French. They tried to take Canada, failed doing that, took Mexico, and were just a bit of a hassle. Then it just drew. So I guess C tier for the US, for the Americans. Next we have Britain. Now Britain really carried their team, let's be honest. Britain really carried their team. They defeated the French at Waterloo. They were the whole time at war with the French. They had a major victory at Trafalgar. They boycotted the French. They blockaded them and had to suffer their own blockade. Had to fight on major fronts. S tier for them. Next we have the Kingdom of Sicily. Kingdom of Sicily first were kind of invaded by the Brits, cannot really. Gave them a regiment to defend against Napoleon, said they could do it themselves, got slapped up. Bad decisions all over, F tier for you. France is a very interesting one, because France, they did so well in the beginning. They were an incredibly strong power, defeated everybody everywhere. It was a S tier, S plus tier even. But then they had some major defeats in Moscow and Trafalgar and Waterloo at the very end. It doesn't edit for me for an S tier. They probably should be an S or an A, but I'm going to give them an A now. Pretty strict. Could also be an S. Next we have Legionary Poland. Now, Warsaw was kind of created by Napoleon as a little buffer state. They were supposing to help the French. They were kind of important, not too crazy. I think that they weren't slapped up as other countries. They were freed. I think a sea is fair to me. Next we have Bavaria. Now Bavaria was quite helpful on the French side. They first had to kind of fight against the French because they didn't want to, but on the side of the HRE, as soon as they got freed, they had some major victories against the Austrians. And overall, they seemed like a good teammate to me, B. Saxony, kind of on the other hand side, just got slapped up by the French. Really just slapped up. I mean, one could say that, okay, the Bavarians kind of were forced in the end against the French, but they were more useful than the Saxons were. Against Spain was like the super useless teammate. France attacked the Spanish, and then they had them on their side, and then they had again rebellions from Spanish. Just FF, they were annoying and not useful. They lost all their colonies after that. Oh, my nation, Switzerland. Let's be honest, we had a horrible war. Horrible. France just invaded us. Yeah. Then we have Naples. Also Naples having a very bad time, just getting slapped up by France. And then we still have Canada, and Canada was an interesting one because they did quite well actually. They held against a lot superior by manpower Americans, and I just think they deserve a B. They seem to me quite useful. So here we have the standings of the Napoleonic Wars. I'd be very interested in hearing your opinions. I guess some countries may vary quite a bit on standpoints. I guess France could be S tier. Russia can't be S tier, but well, some of these countries are discussable. Thank you for watching. Have a nice bye.